It's recap time. I bring you one more recap. Today I'll be explaining a thriller drama movie called Trunk Locked In from the year 2023. The film starts with a woman waking up inside the trunk of a car with a rodent licking her arm. The woman wakes up in a hurry and hits her head on the trunk. She notices that it's drizzling outside at night and she cannot move her legs. Eventually, the woman drags herself outside of the trunk and notices a bag of her belongings placed on the road. A man starts walking towards the car and it frightens the lady. She recognizes a phone vibration coming from the bag and plans to pick up the mobile before the man comes closer. She is able to get the vibrating phone before the encounter and pretends to be unconscious. The man takes a bottle from the trunk, drinks from it, and throws it back inside before closing it. The woman dials a number using her phone but reaches a voicemail. She tries to tell him about her condition, but he recognizes a similar hat inside the trunk of the car. The lady deduces that the unknown man has gotten rid of her associate as well. She cries in anguish and looks for the next move. The woman receives a call from one of her sisters. The caller keeps interrupting her and doesn't believe in the theory of her being kidnapped. She blames her for making everything about her. The frustrated woman, Malina, cuts the call and dials the authorities. However, the phone displays no signal. Malina gets into her phone and checks out the last few recorded videos. She understands that a bad hitchhiking idea led them to this trouble. In a faded memory and camera roll, she discovers that a man pushed back his boyfriend. I pinned him to the gate of the car and murmured words of warning to him. The next instant, the recording indicates that she got kidnapped by a random person and was left inside the trunk of the car. She also gets injured badly in the process and thus remains unable to move her legs. Meanwhile, she tries to use whatever means are available to nurse her wound. Malina gets a call back from the authorities once the signals are restored. At first, the woman on the other line inquires about her whereabouts. She repeatedly asks him to give her the exact location or some details that might help them trace her. However, due to a lack of networks, Malina is unable to do so. She also gets a phone call from his dad, who informs her that he has received a ransom message. He warns Malina not to inform authorities as it can lead to unfaithful circumstances. However, Malina remains adamant about finding any way out possible and informs the authorities about every small detail she can remember. The car stops at a gas station and Malina starts to panic. She starts shouting for help, assuming that someone will hear her voice. The trunk opens, but instead of a friendly face, the kidnapper finds her awake. He mentions that she is strong and he advises her to remain silent throughout the journey. Mistakenly, Malina puts her phone on a loudspeaker, which leads to more trouble. The man tells her to keep quiet for the rest of the journey. Malina uses a bottle kept in the car trunk to scare him off, but she soon realizes the fatality of her action. She removes the bottle and waits for the driver to lock the trunk again. After the trunk gets locked again, Malina tries to contact the woman again. She communicates everything to the woman right from the start, including a surgery gone wrong, which might be a reason for all this ruckus. The authorities inform her that her father has already sent them a photo of the kidnapper. They are trying to deduce all the details necessary to locate her. However, it might require some time. Malina is faced with the choice of figuring out something on her own until the authorities trace her down. She tries to dismantle the bottom part of the trunk and break it down to retrieve a hammer inside. At first, she stops midway due to her fear of maggots. However, she regains her strength and finally finds the much-needed hammer for breaking the trunk from inside out. Malina uses the hammer to break the rear end of the car from inside. The car stops at a road junction, and she is able to pass out her hand to indicate her presence. A stranger stops the car and looks for her. The driver pushes the car back and hits the stranger. This further prompts the driver to drive as fast as he can and escape the situation. The mobile network on Malina's phone indicates that she has crossed the border. She updates the authorities about the activity, who inform her that her father has paid the sum. They also hint to her that this is not the work of some professional and all they need is more time. Malina becomes even more frustrated and decides to find out more details. She uses the hole in the trunk of the car to read the number plate. It becomes extremely difficult for her to read all the numbers, but she manages to get the complete plate. Her newfound joy turns into a new scare as she connects a call with her boyfriend. She informs him that everything will be safe and he will get rescued. Malina's boyfriend seems suspicious on the call and informs her that they should just transfer the money. Malina seems extremely confused and discovers that her boyfriend might also be present inside the car. She then calls back to the authorities, who inform her that they have located the approximate location and might take action anytime soon. Meanwhile, a message from Malina's dad relays to her that it is not the usual suspects that have kidnapped her. The entire thing is much more complex than they were imagining. The car stops at a security check. Malina receives a message from her boyfriend that they should remain silent. A woman starts to inspect the driver and interrogates them. Malina remains silent during the entire procedure. Soon enough, the woman leaves and advises the driver to get a new side mirror. Malina receives a batter low message on her phone. She closes all the tabs and takes another look at the driver's image. She finds a guy standing behind him, which makes her even more suspicious. Malina then notices a video camera on the other side of the trunk. She uses all her might to push herself and open the camera. Malina finds footage of the driver throwing her inside the trunk while the other guys talk on the phone. She tries to make sense of the events and gets a call from the authority. They inform her that they are on their trail and will reach her in 2 minutes. She demands the phone number from which the ransom call arrived and realizes that it was from her boyfriend. The authorities inform Malina that she is on a ferry and that they will get to her on the other side of the river. She sends a text to her boyfriend to ask about everything. Soon enough, she receives a call, and he informs her that he was involved in a corrupt deal and it was all his fault. He also informs Malina that he has to give up on her in order to survive. He informs her that the deal is done and that he cannot do anything about it. This frustrates Malina on another level, who cries in pain. After a while, she sends her boyfriend a picture of her ultrasound. She reveals that she is pregnant and that if anything happens to her, it will happen to their son. Her boyfriend realizes the gravity of the situation and tries to negotiate with the driver. The driver relays to him that it's a lost cause, and since she has seen his face, nothing can be done. Malina's boyfriend persists in reverting back to the original plan and keeping her alive. At last, he informs him that Malina is pregnant. The driver remains adamant about keeping his part of the deal. Malina's boyfriend uses the distraction to create a car accident. He makes use of a gun kept in the ashtray compartment to make the car go out of control. The vehicle goes screeching on the road and injures the driver. He then opens the trunk and meets with Malina. The moment does not last long as the injured driver shoots him from the back of the trunk. The dying boyfriend goes down on his knee and makes eye contact with Malina. The injured driver gets even more angry and keeps both of them inside the same trunk. Malina shares an emotional moment and later uses all her might to fight back. She gets out the same rod that she used to create a hole in the trunk. The trunk captive uses it to puncture the tire from the trunk hole. At first, she fails to connect the rod with the car tire. In her second attempt, she is successful in making the vehicle go out of control but finds herself drowning in water. The water surrounds their car completely. It starts to enter the trunk of the car through the hole and makes it difficult for her to breathe. In this moment, Malina makes the decision to not die with her boyfriend. She uses all her might to punch back the rear end of the car and find her way into the back seat. She swims through the windshield where the driver is also present. It is revealed that the driver had already drowned in the water and Malina is the sole survivor of the crash. At last, Malina is able to find her way out of the drowning car and escape from the river. The authorities arrive in a rapid fashion and the camera moves to the river body. There is a moment of suspense about whether Malina is alive or not. In the final scene, we find the authorities on the highway while Malina emerges out of the river. The movie ends here. I hope you liked this movie recap. Please comment down on what you liked about this movie and what scene you liked, and don't forget to subscribe. See you in the next video.